Earlier this year, you met Anthony Kolodziej, who took his vending machine business from zero to over $50,000 a month in revenue in 16 months. In this video, we did a little live Q&A with the Side Hustle Nation community on topics like finding the right location, insurance and vandalism, stocking logistics, profit margins and payback periods. Stick around to see if a vending route might make sense in your area. One quick note is you'll hear Anthony reference Mike on the call. This is Mike Hoffman from Vendingpreneurs. He was a guest on the channel last year. And if you have a question that we didn't cover, I want to invite you to book a call with his team at sidehustlenation.com/vending-call. The first audience question was actually about bulk vending, the kind where you see these mechanical dispensers of M&Ms or gumballs. Is that still a thing? Let's find out.
Don't see those as many as I used to. The new things now is like with the vending and unattended retail, like you go to the airport, me and my wife were in Vegas in May for a vending trade show, and there's a Kylie Jenner cosmetic vending machine like in the airport. There's a stuffed animal thing where like the kids can take it. Even at the Jewel by me, there's like a Pokemon thing. Like my kids are going by it, like when we're checking out at the grocery store, I go, come back here. But like those things are like, you it's like digital. You click it, you touch it, and I was like looking at the price. I'm like, $30 for this thing. I go, come on, keep it.
Yeah. We were talking about this. We saw like a Lego vending machine at the airport. It was
Yeah.
like $100 for this Lego kit. It's like, who packed that much space in their luggage where they could now fit this giant Lego box in here?
Yeah. No,
But I was
absolutely.
just
Like it's
at
interesting for sure.
FinCon in Oregon, and I took this picture of it. I'll see if I can find it. But it was this unique vending machine at the convention center where they had like deluxe mystery fun bag, or it was
Mm.
just totally random. Like it was very Portland. It was just completely random stuff, but didn't look like snacks or drinks. So
One of the things that Mike is doing, like in his vending machines, because he has some at like some of the campuses in a college town. So what he has been doing is he's been getting the like these hats and shirts, and they've been putting those in the machines and selling those things at like 35 bucks a pop, where he's getting
yeah,
involved
okay.
and you're making like 17, $20 because, you know, when you're doing this vending business, especially like on the smart markets, you have a very restricted square cubic inches of space that you have to fit product in there, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the main things that you always want to kind of do and think about is how are you going to get the highest revenue possible for that like machine, like reverse engineering it, With me in the beginning, like I would have 1 ounce bags in there. I don't have any 1 ounce bags in any of my machines now. Like I'm not gonna buy a bag of chips for 38 cents and sell it for $1.25. Okay, you make 87 cents. I would rather buy one of the bigger 2 ounce bags that I can get for 75 cents, but I could sell for 2.99 or 2.50.
Yeah.
I'm making $2 in profit instead of 87 cents. So like I would rather in this business, I would rather sacrifice margin for profit.
Lower percentage, but better raw dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, think about it. Like your guy that you're gonna have to pay to stock your machine, you're paying him $25 an hour. Like, well, at least that's what I pay in my market for like, and I'm in the Chicagoland area for my guy to
Yeah.
stock my machines. Each market will be different. But I pay 25. And with me, like he's stocking that machine, like I got to make sure that that machine that guy's going to, I'm making money and it's profit. If everything that I have learned over the past 2 years, and it's crazy that I'm coming up on my 2 year anniversary of like being involved in this business, coming
It's
up here
crazy
in
that
like
it's only
two
been
days.
2 years.
Dude, it is so crazy because like 2 years that when I joined Vendingpreneurs is literally September 27th, like, and that's like Saturday. My wife and I were just reflecting on like how it's gone by so fast. Like,
Yeah. What a wild ride.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. Because like, somebody told me like, opportunities they don't disappear; they just go to the people that act on them first, and it has always stuck with me. So when I was like contemplating about should I join Mike's community, I'm about to be laid off from my job. Do I go all in? And me and my wife are having a conversation. She's like, "Well, no, yeah, we should go all in. Like, if you get a corporate job, 2 years from now, you could be laid off again." So, we went all in. I bet on myself, and the rest is history. So I'm just excited here to answer anybody else's questions or anything like that that they have here today about the experience because I've been through a lot.
Well, perfect. With that, we'll open it up. We'll tee it up. Curious if anyone in attendance has one or more vending machines already. We'll get a sense of where people are at, but feel free to unmute if you have something for Anthony, or drop it in the chat, and we can read from there as well. Thanks for coming by this afternoon.
I'll jump in for a minute. I'm just curious, how do you vet with the incredible big guys that are out there? You know, everybody from Compass or Aramark or Sodexo or from United Strategies Group or what have you. How do you navigate around those organizations?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, they are our competition, and I'll tell you right now, I've taken over a lot of my locations from them, to be honest with you, to be straight up. Out of my 44 locations I have right now, I could confidently say probably 60 to 70% of those are ones that there were operators already in there, and they were just crappy operators. One of the things about those big guys is that they are resistant to tech. A lot of their operators are resistant to some of these smart AI machines. So that's a huge advantage for people that are hungry and ready to go. Sometimes it's really hard to reach those folks. You know, maybe they're not either servicing it the best or something kind of dropped through the, you know, either the cracks there with that operator and they're just very unhappy with the service of where they're at. And then I would come in there and I would say, and I learned all this stuff like in Vendingpreneurs about like, hey, this is what you should say, this is how you should go ahead and pitch it, and there's all these different modules and content. Because when I joined here, guys, 2 years ago, when I started this business, I had zero experience like in vending. I'm a real estate guy. I was a real estate guy, development company, worked for another company. I had my own business from '09 to 2016, and then I worked for a different real estate firm from 2017 to 2023. But I go in there and I preach service. I sell them on me. You know, it's funny that you mentioned USG is that Mike has actually for Vendingpreneur community, he's actually struck a deal with them and with regards of for rebates. So again, with strength in numbers with the community of how it has grown to such a higher amount of people that have been in there since I joined 2 years ago. Mike has been very smart and savvy by taking that and going to all these different operators or going to all these different manufacturers and like vending companies and founding USG. And now we get massive rebates than if we were to do it by myself as $100,000 route. Yeah, it's nothing to, but if I'm going to call Frito-Lay, what type of rebate are they going to give me? I'm only 100 grand. Like what's not like, you know, and so we are like, even for USG, one of the positive things about that is like with the program, we now have a distributor relationship where we're able to order all the inventory. So that has helped my operations of my business tremendously as I was doing this. But yeah, don't be afraid of the competition. I've taken over a lot of places that had some of those bigger boys in there for sure.
Yeah,
And there's a
I
lot
bet.
of things that those groups are like overlooking. And Mike and his team are doing a phenomenal job by like sourcing those type of properties that, you know, that would work, you know, for us. I mean, there's urgent cares, student housing, like a ton of different opportunities that we have that Mike's like locking up for people in the community. I've been a benefit of getting a couple of those, you know, national leads.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, USG, I'm a little familiar with them for quite a few years, and yeah, they seem to be a really well run, very beneficial for the operators that they work with. So I think that they're probably one of the best for independent operators.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a nonprofit co-op. It's great. Like their team has been collaborative because one of my main pitches when I go into these like these buildings, you know, I will get the pushback from some of the property managers and they'll say, "Well, you're not just stocking this from like Costco or Sam's, right?" And I'll say like, well, before the first couple of months when I joined the community, I was because that's all we had access. That's all we had access to until the community grew to what it grew, and then Mike was able to negotiate a distributor relationship where we were able to have access to like 3,000, 5,000 SKUs. So part of my pitch when I would go in there, I go, no, I'm like, I could source anything. I had a request come through the other day for Gardetto spicy Italian trail mix. Like, I can't get that from Club. I have to get that from a distributor. And one of the things is that it's been tremendous to see the growth in my business by having those different tools that Mike has been able to bring to the community for us operators to make us more efficient and it obviously make us more profitable. So I would go in.
Who's Mike?
So Mike is so Vendingpreneurs is the community that I joined a couple of years ago. Probably maybe on that podcast or something like there was like a link of like what I went through, but I went through like a coaching program, which was called Vendingpreneurs. So Vendingpreneurs, because I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about it. So I went through there, I joined their program, and I've been in there ever since for the past 2 years. And I actually, like, one of the main values for me of why I joined was because coming from a real estate business, going into vending where I had no experience, like I didn't have time. I was about to lose my job. I basically needed to buy into a network in a Rolodex, and that's exactly what, in like a pseudo board of directors, and that's exactly what I did.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. I know 20 years ago or what have you, there was a lot of so-called mom and pop vending companies out there. It was really easy, low cost of entry. And I think a lot of the big companies came in and dug deep after that. But when the pandemic hit, I think that's when you found a lot of them had to pull back. They were overextended,
Yeah.
which probably opened up a whole lot of opportunity for independent operators to come in and make a big difference. Is probably exactly what you found, especially in a big market like Chicago. And so
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that you make a great point because there was one location that I went into and they literally brought me into their storage unit and they're like, we don't know where the guy's at. Like he's gone. Like, but here's the machine, but he's gone. And I'm like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you might be right because like I even entertained of looking at a route to purchase here in Chicago like this summer. Massive route, like 1.5 million it was doing in revenue. And I thought it was going to be it was going to be a good opportunity. I didn't end up moving forward with it. He had more of like all traditional machines, and for me, it was going to be a lot of like logistics, wholesaling these things off, doing this, re-upping. Like it was just a lot. But like it was interesting when I was looking at his P&L to kind of see that dip for COVID, and then that
Yeah,
year
yeah,
afterwards and how he was able to kind of survive to kind of get to where he
yeah, I
was at.
bet.
But yeah, you're right. You're spot on with that. You make a valid point for sure.
So I think I remember listening. Have you dipped into micro marts or whatever you call
Yeah.
them these days?
Yeah. So majority of my portfolio right now, out of the 78 machines that I have, about 45 of them are like those micro marts. So it's like an AI machine. It's a minus 40 refrigerator with a video board on top. I have 15 Stockwells, which are like the ambient cooler. Those are from 365. I have one, two, three, four. I have four open markets, micro markets. I have one through Moneta and a couple through Cantaloupe. And then I have some traditional combo machines, Futura combo machines. And then I got a beverage machine, just a straight up beverage machine. I only got five of those. So like my whole operation, like out of all 77 machines, I have like six machines that have cash. That's it.
Oh yeah, yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Most companies just, I mean, well, from I remember, if they don't even deal with cash anymore.
Yeah.
So
Some of them will request it, like the one I'm at is it's a medical outpatient facility, so they wanted it there. Some of the patients, there's a lot more of like elderly people that are kind of going through there. A lot of them still use cash, so I've kind of that's what I ended up doing there at that market as well too.
what do you do for your fleet? Anybody else jump in? Just I'll just keep asking questions if no one else is. But so what do you
It's the
do
Gary
for
show,
for
Nick.
fleet? Oh no,
No.
please. Someone else jump in if you want.
So fleet wise, yeah, great question. So when I started scaling my business last year, I was doing like around 20,000 like a month in revenue, and I had an SUV, but I'm like, okay, it's time to go ahead to like I had to be pushed, and not to keep plugging vending but like it's part of my story. So like I was stocking the machines, and Mike called me out one day on one of these community calls that he has, and he goes, "Hey Anthony," he goes, "Why are you still picking and stocking machines?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Who's else going to do it?" And he's like, "Well, you're doing a low leverage task right now." Like, I'm like, "I know." I go, he's, "But when are you going to do the pop-ins? When are you going to scale?" Because for me, I got addicted to the business when I installed my first 24/7 location, when I started making money at night. Now, I was able to really, I understood the expression "make money while you sleep," but I was never able to fully physically feel it. So when I installed my first location, I woke up the next day. I go, "Oh my God." I told my wife, I go, "We made $25 last night while we were sleeping." I said that to her every single 30 days while we were getting ready in the morning, giving her an update of how much money we were making. And then at the like second week, third week. She goes, could you imagine if we had like 10 of these? And what if we had, I go, what if we had 20? So like I was getting like so jacked up and excited about it. But like that's when I really, really like, I was like, okay, this business is for me. Like this thing's real. Like I'm going, let's make it happen. And I got to go balls to the wall. I got to make it happen. And so I was still picking and stocking machines all the way to June of last year. And Mike goes to me, hey, Anthony, you're never going to scale like that. Cause like I said, my goals have changed now. When I got in the community, it was only to make $5,000 a month, and like that was it. And so he called me out. I go, okay. He goes, you need to focus on higher leverage tasks. So I did that and I bought into like what he said. And with me doing that, I ended up hiring somebody. I got all the ad through the content of the community. I posted it, screened people, interviewed people, went through that whole process, hired somebody. But the guy didn't have the right car, So I was like, he's driving a car, and Mike goes, buy the van. I go, what do you mean buy the van? I go, dude, every time I talk to you, you're costing me money. But he was right, So I went out and I bought a Ford Transit Connect van. And you guys will think I'm nuts, but like I took the measurements of the totes that I use, and the guy gave me the cubic inches of the inside of the load, because we have no back seats. It's just the front and then the passenger. So he gave me the measurements, and I'm like, I was reverse engineering the math and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, I got to figure out exactly. So I literally went there with like 18 totes, empty totes, and I packed them in the van before I even bought the thing, just to make sure that I knew how many could fit in there. So then I knew how many stops my guy could do in a day for that. And you're nodding your head because you get it because you've been in this, but like I was like, I'm not taking a chance. Like, I need to reverse engineer to how about doing this process. So then that way I know what my limitations are. So right now, so I have one full-time driver. I have a part-time stocker that uses his car. It's like a RAV4, which is like a little mini beast where he's able to fit like 6 or 7 totes in there. So he's able to, like, there's a certain capacity that he has, but he's only going to be part-time for me. He's going to be able to give me 25 hours a week. And then I have a delivery guy or warehouse guy that's in my warehouse that does my pick and pack, takes the deliveries, throws out the trash, and updates the inventory via our spreadsheet. And I just made a hire for like an operations GM guy to kind of really handle the ordering and managing those guys, putting temp people in place and all that stuff as well too, if anybody were to get sick. So it's turning into
That's impressive.
it's not a side hustle anymore. That's what
Yeah,
I
it's a
talked to
pretty
Nick
serious
earlier.
operation here.
You know?
There were a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah.
I want to get to Chris's in a minute because I think this is a good topic. But first, Kristen asked about company structure, entity structure, LLC, corporation, stuff like that.
Obviously, reach out to your accountant for that. But how I've structured mine is that I have an LLC where I file as an S corp. Is how I file mine.
So that's the same structure as Side Hustle Nation, actually. So
yeah.
There appears, consult your advisors, but potentially some tax savings on self-employment taxes.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's a reason why I do it. I mean, like there's a certain tax benefits and structure of way how you can go about paying yourself, but definitely talk to your accountant about those strategies about how you're going to go ahead and set yourself up, for any business, basically, what you're going to get into.
And you carry some level of, I imagine, like a general liability in case a machine tips over on somebody.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like insurance is extremely, nobody needs insurance, until you need it, right? So, yes, you definitely need that. So, and I'll say this here too, like Mike just partnered with another insurance company inside the community, and I was using a cheaper version, like online, that was actually kind of like really like leaving me like some risk and exposure. And with talking to this the new insurance agent, the consultant, like we totally rewrote my whole policy to make sure a lot more things were covered. Like I had the umbrella, I had the general liability, I had the workman's comp, but like there were some things there for like just of like in regards of like the machines of like what I need to the insurance that I needed to cover for those actual machines. If there was any vandalism, which thank goodness there was not in the 2 years, but it really kind of coached me along the way of like, to make the right policy. And I only paid like $30 more a month or something like that for like more protection. So definitely insurance is definitely important for sure.
You haven't seen any vandalism?
I have not. There has been other people in the community that have seen it. There is a location that I'm at which is an old traditional machine. The guys were trying to, I felt like they were trying to tip it, like they were trying to shake it a little bit. Because every time when I would go there or my stocker would go there, he would send me photos of the spirals coming loose from the motor, which means that they were maybe kind of push it, trying to rattle some of those little products come down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I took some definitely secure measures there to make sure that that thing's not being messed with or tipped.
Yeah, that's one of the risks I see with unattended retail. It's like, well, nobody's there. People are going to mess with your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And unfortunately, at that place, like there's like 24/7 security that monitor the halls, but I mean, people, if they're going to be a criminal, they're going to be a criminal. Like they're going to figure out a way like how to steal stuff or try to get stuff like for free. They're going to wait till that guy goes around and that, and then they got their whole operation set up.
Yeah.
So,
And it sounds like from our conversation, we're targeting more affluent buildings and more, you can do what you can to deter that by picking the right location.
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely 100%. Like majority of my portfolio are luxury apartments, but I do have a outpatient medical facility, I have warehouses, a ton of people that crush inside the community. It's like student housing, does phenomenally well for people. Office space will, if you're in the right place, you just got to make sure the foot traffic's there. I'm 0 for 4 on office spaces. I am. I went in last September into one location. Property manager promised me that he'd be at 80% by the spring of this year. I gave him till that time to get it all up and ready to get more tenants in there. I didn't eclipse $1,000 a month. So May of this year, I gave him the 30-day notice. I moved it to a different location. I did $3,700 in the first month where I moved it to. So it was it's almost like a $3,000 swing for my business. So
Yeah.
I will say this to everybody, like I had a easier time to clip now that I just have a team and infrastructure, because now I just look at a spreadsheet, and if the numbers are not there, it's like, okay, I'm giving a 30-day notice. I'm trying to figure it out. My issue is that I'm a little bit of I'm a nice guy, I would say. So when I was going there and stocking the machines myself, I was interacting with the coworkers and the employees, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll make this work. And and some of these other locations that maybe were not doing that well for me in the beginning that I pursued, but like I was emotionally attached because I was like talking to the coworkers and but now that I'm removed from that, it's like, stock traders, like you can't be emotionally attached to a stock. You got to sell it and cut and go sometimes.
That's one benefit of these things being not necessarily, you can't just put it in the back of your sedan and roll it over to the next location, but it's portable, right? It's like in the
Yeah, no,
car
absolutely.
business with
And
the
you have to
text
time
that's
it. And
saying was, well, my toolbox has wheels, right? If you're not going to pay me,
exactly.
somebody else will. And so if
Yep.
the location isn't working, you can move it on to the next spot.
Yeah,
Chris brings
absolutely.
up a good point about starting with a small budget and, maybe $5,000, one machine, two machines. And I think the broader point here is like, is there a path where this stays a side hustle? When you wake up and you're
Yeah.
excited to tell your wife, hey, we made 25 bucks last night. Like, is that a lane, or is like, do you almost have to go crazy and have 70 locations?
No, 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 you don't. It all depends on like where you're at, where you're located. When I started this business, I was saying, hey, I'm going to build my business 25 minutes away from my house. It didn't work out like that. I ended up making a shift and I ended up building it 2 hours, an hour, 45 minutes to 2 hours away from my house, depending on traffic. It is what it is. You're an entrepreneur. Something happens, the business changes. Hey, maybe you slide over there. Maybe you got to be agile. You got to adjust. But no, you do not need 70 locations. So, like to give you guys an example, two of my locations right now are sister properties. One does 53 to 6 grand a month. The other one does like 6 to 6,500 a month. So just say 12,000 for average monthly is what I have from those two properties, and they're right next to each other. I could get rid of my warehouse, my truck, the rest of my other guys. I could get rid of like a lot of other people, like all that stuff. I can run it out of my garage if I wanted. Hire a part-time guy to stock those two locations 3 times a week, do the picking in my garage or get a commercial space for storage space. So then that way your wife's not freaking out if somebody is at the house or something like that. But like I could do that right now if I wanted to and make like 5,700 a month net. So it's not about locations. Don't worry about like how many machines you need, X amount of machines. I built my business out like that. I'm in a more populated area. So if I got a location that's doing 3,500, but then if I have another one that's like right next door that's doing 1,800, like I'm just gonna have the guy go there and just do it. It's not a like the guy's not driving like an hour to get to the next spot where I have to pay him $25, right? So you have to really think about it logistically about how you build your business and how you're gonna do it, and you have to make sure it's worth it. Everybody on this Q&A did not join today because they want another low paying job, right? Nobody did. So like that's my thing is like the biggest thing that I could say to folks is that wait for the right location. Who cares if that side hustle takes you 10 months? I would rather wait 10 months and have a $5,000 location instead of having three locations that are doing $800 a month in the first 2 months. So then that way you could post on Facebook that you have a vending machine business. No, because look at the bottom line. Be poised and wait for the right location is what I tell everybody.
Yeah, looking for a higher volume, I guess it just makes it simpler on so many levels, like higher
Oh
volume,
yeah.
fewer stops to make, fewer places to restock.
Absolutely. There's a guy in the community. His name is, he's out of Texas, high school football coach. So you know it's demanding for his job, and he's a teacher. Um, but like he's very selective. He's more quality over quantity. Where with me, I was more populated. So I was like, okay, I'll just take that $1,700 location. I'll just, because it's like on the way of like what I explained. For him, he was very strategic and picky and selective of which location. So he had like four locations doing 20K.
Wow.
So there's many different ways of how to, go ahead and build out this business for sure, depending on your goals.
Yeah, that's moving some serious inventory there.
Hmm. Yeah, it's nice. And it's less of a headache too. You don't have this machine, potentially this machine going down. So yeah, I mean, there's opportunities out there. I mean, like out of my locations, I have 5 or 6 locations that average anywhere from 55 to 6,500 a month. I do. And I'm concentrating right now, guys. Like my route, I did 102 grand last month. My route realistically should be doing like 118, 120. My goal for the next 4 months is to trim the fat on my route. Trimming the fat means, you know, moving some of those lower mover locations and, putting them into better type of locations.
Yeah, and once you have a critical mass of different machines and data, you start to say, well, there's an 80/20 to all of this, and we can trim off
Yeah,
the
no, absolutely.
some of the
Absolutely.
lower ones.
Yeah, because like for me, like I'll move those locations. Okay, I'm gonna have to pay a company, like like a moving company to do it. And there's a company that I have, whatever. It cost me $350. But then at least I don't have to buy brand new machines. I already have the same debt service. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep the same debt service when I'm moving it over to these different locations. So like I gave that example of that one that I did earlier. It was $900 in that office building, or 950 is what it did in May, and then I still moved it. And I did $3,700 in June for the first time I moved it to that first location. So same debt service. My COGS obviously went up a little bit because I had to buy more, but that's fine. But I made more, with in regards of revenue and profit that month.
Yeah, that makes sense. Chris says, for context, he's in Salt Lake, which I think would definitely have the population to support that kind of
Oh, I'm
volume.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Kristen
There's
asks,
opportunity.
yeah, Kristen asks, maybe we can make this a two-parter. How
Yeah.
many hours per week are you working on the business? And I think we would like to get a snapshot today and then a snapshot of when you started.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. That's a great question. So in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, this is not some get rich quick scheme. I was grinding. So besides the lead generation that I had from vendingpreneurs that was working on trying to set up leads for me, I was also doing my own pop-ins as well too. I was
Time out, pop-ins mean I'm going to sort of
yeah,
drop into this building, see if I can
drop
find
into
the
this
property
building. Yeah, I'm
manager.
driving by. Yep, exactly. Pop-ins. There's a building there. I think this is going to be a good situation. I think this might be a good location. I'm going to pop in, drop off a flyer. I'm going to try to get to somebody, and you're going in cold, right? Um, so I did that a lot. I probably spent, maybe 20 hours a week, initially. Because I also was like doing like I was rebuilding because I got laid off. So I was rebuilding my real estate business and starting this vending business all at the same time. So what happened is I was like split between each. So did I have like a 9 to 5? No, but I had I had another thing that I was trying to build as well too. That was kind of like I was tapped out with as much time as I had like during the day. So I was doing like 20 hours, but like you want to pop in as many as possible. And guys, it's just a numbers game. You pop in for every 10, you get one. so try to pop in, try to do that as much as possible. My ratio was a little bit higher for closing. And then the vendingpreneur lead generation helped me out a ton. It's out of 44 of my locations, 40 of them came from them, which was, powerful.
This is an add-on service that they have, like kind of an outbound calling
Yeah,
service where
like
they're
a lead
trying to.
generation service. Yep.
Okay, got it.
So that's where I was at in the beginning. I would probably say once I started having a couple machines, you're ordering inventory. It's not hard. You built out your warehouse. You're picking for that location maybe once a week. The location, it takes you maybe 20 minutes to pick. If it's a beast location, it might take you 35 minutes. And then you go there and stock it, which whatever your commute time is, and then you stocking it, maybe a half hour, when you're there. If it's a beast machine, when I'm saying beast machine, it's like it does like really well, like where you're almost like kind of cleaned out. Those can take you anywhere up from like 45 or 50 minutes to do. Those micro markets, the open markets, they take you a longer time to stock because there's so many items there, and then you have to verify inventory for theft and all that stuff, and then you have to add. So those take a little bit longer to stock compared to the AI machines where, it's literally just, you verify inventory, but it's more, you don't have as many products as you do as an open market does. Second part of your question, before I hired my ops manager here in the past week and a half, which I'm training him right now, but I was working on my route with the infrastructure. I was working on it 8 hours a week. That was it. And but that's full transparency. I'm not business developing anymore. I did that all last year. So what happens since I did all that grunt work and that pound the pavement last year, and I've provided such a great service. I've been now just I built up a referral base now. So like literally like once or twice a month, I'll get a contact from one of my current clients and they'll say, "Hey, Anthony, I'm referring you over to this person. They want to add a machine." And then I'll go out there, I'll measure, I'll meet that person on site, take measurements, send over the contract, do all that, and then have the machine installed. So, but yeah, basically my day would be, ordering inventory, which I do maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and then reporting. My business of how I have it set up, I have 6 different operating systems. I would not recommend this at all. But like I have 6 different operating systems because I have all these different type of machines that I laid out earlier in this call. So it kind of makes my reporting a little bit of tedious and a little time consuming, even with me trying to incorporate it and using AI and all these other different things as well too. Trying to find a software solution. I've been trying to search for it. I think Mike's going to build me one. But like, there's software solutions out there, but then it's like, hey, this person doesn't integrate with this one. So it maybe factor 25% of my business. But if I were to have one software, my operations and my reporting of what I would have to do like a week, it would go from 8 to literally down to an hour. Like no joke. It would be that easy. For me, it's just I got to download an Excel spreadsheet, merge it all into one, go to AI. It's a lot. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody listening is like, I could build that for you.
Yeah, right. Give me your number.
Kristen asks about the journey to profitability, and maybe we can take into consideration the cost of the Vendingpreneurs program and the first machines. And there's different ways to look at it in terms of cash flow and debt service, but like,
Yeah.
I'll just tee that up.
Yeah, for me,
Journey to profitability. How long?
yeah, no. When I joined the community, I joined. And then as you start adding more locations, obviously that number of when you join the community starts being less and less like for that. So when I first initially joined, like I was like, okay, here, I would do it by I would have an income statement just for like for that location. Then when I started growing to where I just have like one income state, I have like one sheet now that I have where I have like all my reporting on and where I look at and everything. So like now, where I was able to kind of go ahead and build the business as I was able to scale, yeah, I used credit to have lower monthly payments. And then as cash was coming into the business, I was just paying down that debt. Some of the things that, that I would recommend to do is just to, as you're building your business, my opinion, don't pay off any of the machines cash. I would finance them all. I have financed a ton of my machines over 60 months, no difference than a car, just that way the revenue and the profits of that would be able to pay off that machine and that debt service, where then I would be able to go ahead and get profitability. So that's kind of like where I'm at. In the beginning, you buy a couple racks in your garage from Harbor Freight to build out your warehouse. You buy a couple tow containers from Home Depot. So like warehouse materials, you might be like around $350 with a wagon, you know? But then you need the inventory to purchase for your first install, So it's probably gonna be like $1,000 that you're gonna have to go ahead to that you're gonna need to go ahead to maybe fill up your first machine. And then obviously you'll have some leftover inventory. Some inventory you might not have leftover, depending on how many chips and stuff like that come in there. But like you'll have some inventory that'll kind of get you away. But like usually like month two, month three is like when you really start turning the curve of that profitability. There's been some times I've hit it like, like in the first month because I've ordered inventory and the machine just did so well in that first month. Like I mean, I was profitable, but I would say usually like month two, month three, it's kind of like paying your real estate taxes, like you're in the rear, as you're kind of like building it up and you're scaling and growing. It's a business. Like sometimes it could happen in month one, but most of the time of my locations of what I've been, month three, month four is kind of like when I really hit that inflection point.
And then you're looking at the Vendingpreneurs program as one part education cost and personal development, and then also there's this marketing and sales cost associated to it if they're doing the outbound lead gen for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So like for me, like when I did it, like I said, it was for me to save time, for myself because I was starting that real estate business and vending. And my wife was like, "Hey, well, I don't know if we should pay the higher package, just pay the lower package." But after I went through all like the reason why I want to do the higher package, and I didn't want to leave any stone unturned, I thought it was going to expedite our success, and I was right. And she saw that and she agreed. And like after she got the full understanding with it, we went, excuse me, we went all in, and I had her support, which was huge.
Yeah. So would you say after 3, 4, 5 months, you're, broken even on that investment,
Yeah,
and now we're
yeah,
like purely on cost of the machines, debt service, cost of
yeah.
inventory, stuff like that.
I would say I got there like around like July of last year is like when I felt like where I was doing like 23,000 or something like that a month. I hired the guy when I was doing like 18,000, like in June. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was like right around that point, there. But like even that, like if I had to take it back, I probably would have kept it and I wouldn't have paid it off as quickly as I did. I would probably have stretched it out a little bit longer just so I was able to maybe conserve that cash, to maybe use that for like the down payment of a machine or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, because like it's with you being a business owner, you got to be very cash flow creative of like what's coming in, what's going out. That's one thing that I love about this business. And one of the things that I leveraged myself when I got into this business is that if my machine was being delivered, I was getting it operational and I was stocking it that day. I needed to start making money that day. Because these vendors, they pay you out every week. So Wednesday I get a chunk of cash. Today I get a chunk of cash. Tomorrow I get a chunk of cash. So they pay you out every single week of sales minus their fees every single week. So it's a and it gives you the good creative flexibility of, hey, maybe I should pay this. You got to make sure you have money for your guys. So yeah, it gives you some creative flexibility for sure. And that's the best thing I love about this business because coming from real estate where you got paid in chunks and it's like, how are you going to manage this? And it's like, this is so consistent. Once you build it up and get going, it's a great business. And it's a low barrier of entry of capital. I looked at all these other ones, laundromats, car washes, everything, you know?
Yeah. What the self-storage, like to check all the trendy boxes of what businesses kids are talking about these days.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, like it even come from me coming from a real estate background. Like I ran the numbers on bigger projects for me to go ahead and raise the equity, get the bank loan, do this. Yeah, the appreciation was going to be great, but like when I was running the numbers of like what the cash flow would be per month, like I had to do like a lot of these buildings, to even get to the point of where I'm at right now, and I needed a lot more capital, a lot more partners to do it to get to where I'm at right now with the cash flow. Now I'm not going to have the same appreciation as maybe real estate, but for cash flow wise, I haven't found anything that beats this business. Like I really
Yeah. And this
haven't.
is,
I
I
love
think,
it.
what we talked about some numbers wise, where it was like, if I can make enough sales on that machine, month after month, where it's like broke even on my acquisition cost after a year, I get 100% ROI on that. And now the rest for the useful life of that machine, yeah, I got to pay somebody to go stock it. But like the rest of that useful life is gravy, essentially. It's all profit. And so that's kind of how, um, I'm looking at it in terms of, okay, acquisition cost, if I can defer the payments of that, pay it down with the cash flow from that machine that's generating, and then kind of parlay that into the next thing and the next thing, and you're off to the races there.
And then the other thing too is you guys got to think about is like you have that, but then you also have to take about in regards of like how your books look when you're talking with your accountant. Talk with him because you have an asset now, just like a real estate building or a rental building. Like this is an asset that you could depreciate. So talk to your accountant about that because you could depreciate like a certain person. Like you can talk to your accountant about it. I'm not gonna say it, but like you could depreciate so much where it's going to be able to be an advantageous benefit for you, like on your tax return.
Sure. Let's talk. Jacqueline asks about newbie mistakes for somebody brand new. I'm sure there are some that come to mind
Oh
here.
yeah. The biggest thing, guys, that I want you guys to get out of this, and I talk so passionately about it, but like you're all not on here for a low paying job. I know I said it earlier, but it's the truth. Stay poised for the right location. I can't, that is the other, that's one piece of advice I can give you. Be poised, wait for the right location. Don't try to fit a square peg into a round hole. And then the second
What's a
piece of
red
it,
flag? How do you know? Because if I'm knocking on doors and I got somebody to say yes to me, yeah, you can put a machine here. I'm probably going to be like, yeah, let's do it.
it's exactly, and that's the resistance that you need to have and the poise that you need to have as an early entrepreneur that you make a good decision because you can't walk into, oh yeah, hey, I'm gonna like for instance, I had a referral last week. The guy's like, hey, I got a closet company. I'm like, okay, great. He goes, I'm moving warehouses. I go, awesome. And he's like 20 minutes away from my house. And it's on our route anyway, because I got another location out over here by me. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm like, not a problem. I go, how many employees do you have there? Well, we got 40 and 20 work from home. I go, so you got 20 people there. I go, you got not enough foot traffic for me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I could do it, but like, I'm gonna have to charge you a minimum for me just to cover my overhead, for me to be there. Now, Mike has had a good job of structuring some of those minimums with some of these other locations that he has. He's got like a roofing company that like has like 25 employees and the employer subsidizes some of it and he makes like 15 or $1,600 a month from that one. And they stock it like once a week and he makes it's a nice location.
Yeah, just
I'm
because
over five.
the owner of the company, they just want it as an amenity for
They
their
want, yeah, they want
work.
an amenity.
Okay,
So what he'll do is that he'll send it over. So instead of charging the monsters at 450, he's charging the people at $2, and then Mike will send an invoice at the end of the month of the difference of the costs, and then the owner will pay it because he wants the amenity there for his workers.
got it.
He doesn't want them running to 7-Eleven or all that stuff. He wants them to focus, get their stuff, get what they need for the day, and go out and put on roofs. He doesn't want them driving around to 7-Elevens and all this other stuff, stopping everything. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
to
foot
find
traffic,
that
guys.
unicorn $3, 4, $5,000 per month location, are you using data from the old vending machine company that was there, or how do you estimate that it's going to be a winner? And you have the discipline to say, yeah, sure, if it's only 20 employees, probably not, but there's I'm sure a large gray area in the middle where you're like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know if
no,
it's going to work.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I'll tell you guys, nothing beats the foot traffic test or the parking lot test. Nothing. If there's cars in the parking lot, that's your tail. You know what happened to me in the beginning? I thought I was being busy. I thought I was being strategic. And I'll explain to you why I thought I was. I ended up using like some like this free database software from the library when I first started. And I started reverse engineering leads for myself, like closer to my house. Even though I was utilizing vendingpreneurs, I wanted to also kind of like for me, I'm a go-getter. I wanted to make sure like I was not leaving any stone unturned. I wanted to be successful with this business. So I started reverse engineering like employees of like 200 employees or more, like at a building or warehouse manufacturing and all that. So I ended up running a list and I got it. But then I went out to go do some pop-ins. What I was noticing was, I was like, this parking lot's not that full for 250 people that they said that was on the website. So I walk in there talking to some. I go, yeah, man. He goes, it's like me and like three other guys here. That's it. Everybody else works from home. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So like I went through all these other ones and I had like the same experience like through all these other ones. So here I thought I was being like strategically busy, like of setting it up. Throw that out the window, guys. Just if the parking lot's full, that's where the traffic's at, and then just set up your certain thresholds and stuff like that. Like I'm not going into an apartment building if it has less than 200 units. I'm not.
All right, I like that. The parking lot test. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Kristen asks you to pick your favorite machine. If you could only have one, it's like picking your favorite child.
I'm gonna give you a loaded answer. Okay. I personally like micro marts. That's why it's majority of my portfolio. They're an expensive machine. An ambient and a cooler, they are. They're just expensive. There's other machines that are out there that are a lot cheaper. So when people ask me, hey, what type of machine do you like? I go, okay, here, this is what I like, and this is what I'm doing for my business. But for your business, I got to ask you, what is your capital situation like? What is your credit capacity like? What are you going to be able to finance? Like it starts there for you individually. Then work the numbers backwards. A lot of people in the community this year that joined, they went with another vendor that had a lower entry point because they could get more money out of, their cash that they had. Like no joke, like Micromart right now, like my balance sheet's probably like 475,000, $480,000 worth of debt right now. With all the machines that I have. If I went with that other vendor, that other manufacturer, my balance sheet might be quarter million, 250. So I would have like my balance sheet would be like a lot less of debt. But that vendor wasn't around last year when I was kind of building out my route, and I've been resistant to add another operating software machine to my business. But I like the Micromarts ones a lot. I do. I like the user interface on the back end. I like their video board up top that they have on there. I have some plans where I want to go ahead and sell ad space on there, so that's revenue that I'm not even like budgeting in there right now. That's just icing on the cake for me. I do have Stockwells. I do like those as well too. They work in great situations. They're smaller, they're sleeker, and they could fit, a good amount of inventory in there. So if you have a certain spot where, some of these other AI machines where it can't fit in there, you could go ahead and use a Stockwell. And it's a sleek looking machine. It is. But these fees, woo, they're SaaS fees and they're credit card fees and all this stuff. But yeah, it's
Everybody's going to get a piece of every
yeah, I know.
transaction. Next one is Chris. Would you finance and have those machines on hand, then try to secure
No.
locations?
Definitely not. Do not secure a machine before you have a location. Because if you go to that location, case in point example, March or May of this year, I had a referral to go to this property. I went to the property. I proposed putting a micro mart in this area that I wanted to put it in. The the owner took that proposal of the renderings that I put together and turned it down and said, no, I wanted to go in the same place of where we have the current machine right now, where they had a current Stockwell in there right now. So I had to buy a Stockwell for that one. So like, don't buy a machine because like there's going to be so many different dynamics that are going to happen that are out of your control for you to make sure of like which machine that you're going to go ahead and purchase.
Who are the best people to contact when you do a pop-in?
Each business or each thing is going to be different, but you're definitely going to want to shoot for like an operations manager or a property manager.
Jacqueline says, I'm not near a major city. And I guess it's like, well, even in not a major city, you're trying to find those buildings where there's a bunch of cars
I
in the parking
mean,
lot.
is there a hospital there? I mean, yeah, just look for parking lot. And I'll tell you right now, I know you're not in a major city, but what is the closest near major city to you? And I'm not talking major city like Chicago where there's like 2 million or 3 million people. I'm just talking maybe is there a town that you have where it's 300,000 or 200,000? Like there's opportunity like what's the quickest way that you can get to that? Like for me, like I told you guys, my route is an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours away, the majority of my locations, and I make it work. And I feel confident now that I could even run if I wanted to go into another state and build the infrastructure to go ahead and do it. I'm not doing it. My wife would kill me. But like I'm just saying like I have the confidence that I could go ahead and do it.
Cool. Luis asks,
65.
what type of information or documents are you taking in to your drop-ins, your pop-ins?
Oh yeah. So there's a whole module about this in that community, in Mike's community of entrepreneurs, but like I'll go in there, I'll have a flyer that is made with the type of machines that I want to have in my business. So you have to think about what you want to do with your business first. What is your, like I talked about, what is your credit capacity? What is your capital that you have? You have to decide on which type of machine manufacturer are you going to go ahead and do now. That's your first thing of what you have to do of your due diligence before you even create the flyer and even go out there and go ahead and make it happen. Because when you go there with a flyer, you want to be able to make sure that you got that machine on there that you're pitching, right? So otherwise, you don't want to show them a Micromart and then you show them another one, and then they're like, "Well, I want the Micromart." Well, then it's like, "Oh, well, I know Micromart costs 14 grand, where the other one would have cost me six," and now you're trying to backtrack in and saying, "Hey, I'm going to use this. Well, I don't want this one. We want this one because this one has the video board." And now you just kind of screwed yourself because you kind of showed them something that maybe you didn't kind of plan out there. So a lot of those steps, a lot of that education is given to you in Mike's community. But yeah, did I answer that question, Nick, about that? So is that was that good for
Yeah,
that
I think
one?
so. Just something, and if you don't have, 3 or 4 locations yet to say, hey, we're in this building, you might recognize this other property. You kind of have to showcase what the machines look like and come in and talk a good game to say, hey, we're going to be
Yeah,
more responsive than your current vendor if you already have somebody in place.
yeah,
And, here's why we're young and hungry and looking to get after it.
yeah.
Um, we are just about at our hour, so last call for questions here before we wrap. I think Anthony will have an invite to book a call with the Vendingpreneur team to do, I don't know, they still do market analysis or anything for your local
Yeah,
area.
those guys, yeah, those like same thing, that process that I went through. There'll be guys on there. They'll kind of talk to you about like your situation of like where you're located, like that lady that had that certain, hesitation about where she was at. They'll kind of audit, look, see, if there's any potential opportunities. And it's a two-way street. They want to make sure they're a good fit too, because Mike has grown this community. He's been negotiating these national contracts with a lot of these higher, like these bigger companies throughout the country. And, where they're handing out these national leads, they got to make sure they're handing out to reliable people that are going to go ahead and do the work and to perform because it's his brand on the line.
All right, you got time to do a couple more?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Jacqueline asks about market saturation. Does there still feel like room for somebody brand new to come in?
Yeah, I love these questions. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, said like took over 60% of these locations I've taken over. You guys would be shocked the low barrier of entry of like how people treat these locations and the routes, like how they're being serviced right now. Gary's got a little bit of a good sense of it, but like there's a lot of people that are not running these things efficiently whatsoever. And if you are organized and if you are a good person where you're going to do what you're going to do and you're going to service that thing the way that it's going to be serviced, and you talk with conviction on that pop in, you will get that deal.
Next one was Michelle. Do you ever get pushback from the locations that the machine is going to add to their electric bill and combination of handling maintenance issues, leaks, stuff like that?
No, I haven't. Nothing about electric bill. I really haven't. I have not gotten that. It's a 120, so it's just like plugging in, just like a regular refrigerator is like what it is. There is a cost to it, obviously, but like I'm sure it's minimal. But they're so focused, you got to redirect it. This is an amenity for either their employees, their residents, or whatever. Like there's a bigger picture here. So, instead of like going back and forth with them or them bringing up like, potentially like $5 that it's going to have, that's going to cost like their electric bill like over the month. So, but like, no, I've never gotten that. And what was the other part of it?
It was related to maintenance.
Oh, maintenance. Yeah. I just tell them that, hey, if something ever goes wrong, you text me, you let me know. Our team will handle it, as soon as possible, and I'll give you live updates of why something's going on. And then that's it. Like for instance, we had something. It was one of our machines went in a health lockout the other day, and unfortunately, with this one machine, like you can't do it remotely. You have to literally go there and hold the button down for 5 seconds. So we went there, showed them exactly how to troubleshoot it if it were to ever happen again. And yeah, that's it. And actually, I put that as part of my standard operating procedure now. Once we install the machine, is to show that engineer how that's done.
When in doubt, do a hard reset. Push the
Yeah,
button.
exactly.
Are you typically doing profit sharing with the locations?
Yeah. On the when you do residential apartment buildings, it's somewhat expected. I don't lead with it on the pop in, but it is expected, and I average like around 5% on those. Of it's not profit; I give them of a gross sales a month. Profit
5%
is a
of top
little.
line.
It's really hard to do the profit because like if I got Pepsi, since Gary's from Pepsi, if I got Pepsi on a discount because they ran a promotion for rebates for the quarter, how am I going to be able to quantify that unit specifically that I bought that sold, so it just makes it so gross is just cleaner.
Okay. All right. We have a couple more habits early on. What habits do you credit with your success, and any other habits that came later that you wish you'd built earlier?
Being organized in the beginning, guys, really just kind of really setting up your, like I use Google Drive, so I have my Google Drive folder, like where I'm saving documents. Like I built out like my own little CRM through Google Sheets of like tracking, like leads that I was following up with, making sure you're on top of all that stuff. Like you're building up like a lead pipeline, you're building up a business. So really keeping track of that, and knowing like where you're at, within regards of your business, and then set goals for yourself. You really have to say, hey, I got to do 20 pop-ins this week. Or if you got the time, do 30 pop-ins. Sometimes I would do those on like 2 days. Or 3 days. And maybe I do 10 on one day, and I'd go one to another. And maybe 10 I would go into, I'd be 0 for 10 on that day. But then on the other one I would go into, I'd pop into maybe only 3 because I actually got the property manager and I did a tour with her for 30 minutes, or another guy where I did it for 45. So it's a numbers game. You got to get after it, and you got to make sure you set your goals and you have the right mindset for it. And not to be so cliche, but just try to just do like 1%, get better every single day. And eventually the floodgates will open. And that's what happened for me.
Very cool. Gary, did the 5% thing answer your tiered commission structure question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if, because there's like you've mentioned, there's the difference between a good and a medium account. I didn't know if you have figured out a way to do a tiered structure so pay for performance is a lot more accurate, or you just stick to a flat, easy to handle 5% if needed.
No, like, and I'll give everybody a nugget here. So there was another vendingpreneur that brought this up about 6 weeks ago on one of the calls, and I actually liked his structure better than mine. He broke it down in tiers exactly like what you were saying. Like, hey, it gets to this threshold, you give them X percent. You give it this threshold, you give this percent. And I like that. I do. You learn something new every day.
Learn something new every day. That's a great place to wrap this one up. I know I got a ton of value from this call with Anthony, and I hope you did as well. I think the line that stood out to me was the visual and the excitement of telling his wife how they literally made money while they were sleeping, 25 bucks at a time. Hey, imagine if we could scale this. Really, really fun. If you want to learn more about setting up a vending route in your area, make sure to set up that call with the Vendingpreneurs team at sidehustlenation.com/vending call. I'll also link up that resource in the description below, along with the previous interviews with both Anthony and Mike. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more money-making ideas. Cheers.